Please open the door. It's so beautiful out here. I know you're scared. It's okay. It doesn't hurt. In fact, it feels so warm. Please just open the gate. The light can protect you. Do you remember me, Justin? We would go to that bar after our shifts. We'd hit on that waitress and she'd go, Justin! Justin, please!
That didn't work nearly as well as I'd hoped it would. It had been about a month since 079 had taken control of the facility and cleared out what used to be my friends and co-workers. I was free to roam around the light containment zone and the surface level floor. All the remaining flesh inside the facility had been contained down in the heavy containment for the SCPs to feed on. Because, apparently, this shit is edible, according to the SCP-001 document that was unlocked for me, along with every other data entry in the SCP archives. I guess secrecy doesn't mean much at the end of the world. Who was I gonna blab the Foundation's classified information to? Anyway, with the upper levels now cleared for me to use, I was free to access places like the cafeteria to make food for myself. Unfortunately, the cafeteria, along with its kitchen, was on the surface level, and as I quickly discovered in days past, the blast shielding covering the windows was not soundproof, making mealtimes very draining on my sanity. Earlier, I'd been going through the archives, not like there was much else to do, and I had come across this Soviet radio that I thought be effective at drowning out the noise at the time. While I'd grown fond of listening to broadcasts that aired years before I was even born, all SCP-185 was accomplishing right now was blowing my eardrums and giving me a headache. Either that or the music wasn't loud enough to effectively drown out the voices screaming for me to come outside. So, I sat there with a bowl full of instant mac and cheese, a Soviet radio that had been a bitch to lug up here, its corresponding SCP document, and a journal that Ben had given me before he gave me when I last saw him. I had tried to read the journal to understand what the heck a spiral gestalt was, as I searched many different SCP files, and the term didn't even come up once anywhere in the Foundation's archives, but only a few pages of the book were legible. All the other pages quickly devolved into a series of crude sketches, mad ramblings that seemed to shift to some unrecognizable language and back to English in the same sentence, and a daily itinerary one might use to remind themselves of what they need to do on a particular day. Except some events seem to repeat multiple times on the same day, and others seem to take place at the same time as others, such as that one day when Ben apparently had lunch 4 times 3 hours apart. And yet all 4 meals somehow happened at noon on the same day. And that was my daily routine. Eat, sleep, read whatever SCP document caught my fancy, maybe even mess around with the Safefish SCPs if I was really bored, and attempt to decipher the gibberish in this journal that Ben seemed to think that would have explained everything. And actually, that was pretty much it. That was my entire life, stuck down this hole, until food ran out, or whenever I decided to. You know what? I never really used SCP-185 beyond trying to listen to classic rock radio channels. I already have the thing out. Let's see what we can pick up further down the line. Wonder what was there to listen to back in the 1930s.
Third with 2 outs. Ladies and gentlemen, this game is one for the books as Babe Ruth steps up to the plate.
On a Sunday night, a week after my inauguration, I used the radio to tell you about the banking crisis and the measures we were taking to meet it. I think that in that way, I made clear to the country various facts that might otherwise have been misunderstood, and in general, provided a means of understanding which did much to restore confidence.
Good evening, my dear listeners, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Alistair, and I must say, what a week it has been. Why, just yesterday...
You should be resting, you know.
After banging my knee against the table, I was about to fall to the floor. I turned to glare at the beaked bastard who had just given me a heart attack. Again. I swear to God, I'm gonna put a bell on you, I grumbled. Getting back up and shutting off the radio, SCP-049 at some point, without my consent by the way, decided he would take on the role of my caretaker, and as such kept sneaking up on me whenever he felt the need to do a checkup. He kept trying to do an actual medical examination to make an accurate medical profile for future reference, and I was almost touched by the fact that he seemingly cared for my well-being. That is, if it wasn't for the fact I've seen him kill many of my coworkers, some of them close friends, and then bring them back as zombies claiming he'd cured them.
I have assured you many times that I will not harm you. You have nothing to fear from me.
He tilted his head, actually seeming confused as to why his patient was so against being treated by him. Well, I'm not your fucking patient, so stop stalking me. Doc, I've seen people literally drop dead from just a touch of your hand. So, you'll have to forgive me if I don't feel all that safe around you. I said, as I could see the irritation flash in his eyes. It was a debate that had been repeated over and over again during his containment with the Foundation. So, I never really tried to get into it with the Plague Doctor, as I knew it would just be a waste of breath. Regardless, I can still tell it annoyed him whenever I refer to him killing his patients. Thankfully, we both understood that there were bigger problems right outside our door to worry about. Problems that the doc had been hard at work at analyzing in the now vacant labs. He was trying to understand why the sun had turned everyone into nothing more than a wax-like flesh that kept on melting and reforming on itself. They clearly still had some high-functioning sentience, even going as far as retaining the memories they had before they... Well, according to the SCP-001 document, they never actually die. That was a kick in the gut when I read that. The sun didn't just kill people and turn them into flesh puppets to hunt others. It morphed people into grotesque monsters and brainwashed them, controlled them. There was no easy way to tell just what link the monsters had with the sun or why they were obsessed with dragging others into the light to melt with them. All we knew from the 001 entry is that electrical weapons can stun them, which I had first-hand experience with after seeing the site Tesla gates in action on the fuckers, and fire was reasonably effective. You'd think creatures made out of melted material would have resistance to fire, but as it stands, flamethrower-like weaponry was a good defense against them. There was also the micro HID, but there was no way to reload the damn thing beyond chucking it in SCP-914. It wasn't the most reliable. The best method, however, was cryo-based weaponry. Damn things froze like popsicle in the winter, which Doc found out himself after he chucked some cut-up samples in the lab freezer, and they were made immobile in minutes. Unfortunately, I didn't have any weaponized ice makers, so flamethrowers would have to do. SCP-049 turned his head to the pounding on the reinforced windows, looking quietly for a few seconds.
What are you doing up here?
I held a spoonful of mac and cheese as I explained. I'm just having a late night snack, Doc. Trying to drown out the noise with the radio here, but it's not working. If only I had my headphones, you know. I chuckled. Only after saying it, though it did occur to me that the Plague Doctor might not know what earphones are. The doc gave me an unamused look.
Yes, I can tell that you're eating. I mean, why do you not bring your food down to the lower levels? Surely the noise is a lot more bearable down there.
Which was true. Up here, the voices of my fellow guards and the eggheads we watched over constantly begged and pleaded with me to throw myself outside. I could even pick out the voice of the D-Class who'd always bragged he was the toughest one on the block, since he'd survived 3 of the Foundation's experiments. All we did was have him play catch with SCP-5031 a few times. The doc stared at me, waiting for an answer, and I couldn't give him one I knew he would like. He didn't need to ask though. He already knew why I was here.
Why do you insist on trying to go outside? What is out there that is worth endangering yourself to such a degree?
He asked in a disappointed tone, which is entirely justified as it was true. For about a week now, I had been scouting all possible exits to the facility, looking for a way that wasn't guarded by the flesh outside. There was a very good reason, and no, I was not trying to throw myself into that damned light. Every day on that monitor, I see my car so close to the entrance of the facility, and yet to get to it, I would have to get past multiple mountains of flesh that were growing larger every day. What was so important about my car? Well, the protocol for site dictates that staff weren't allowed to have cell phones, except for high-level access individuals such as the site admin. All Foundation personnel had to keep them at home or in their cars to prevent any data leaks or containment breaches. Apparently, SCP-079 almost got out on the internet using someone's phone as they were watching YouTube in the break room. So any type of cellular device except for the fancy shit the admins got was banned from the building. Now, my phone was just out of reach and it was killing me. It had all my photos and videos of my sister Rachel and my niece Ruby. I would play my guitar for Ruby as she would laugh and sing along while Rachel would make fun of me saying the tough guy who guards monsters is nothing more than a Johnny Cash wannabe. I needed my phone. I needed to see them again. Just one more time. Because I can't take one more fucking nightmare of their melted images yelling at me through those doors. Of Ruby begging me to sing her more songs out in the sunlight. Of Rachel begging me not to leave her, as I'd always promised I would be there for her. I'm so sorry, Rachel. I'm so sorry. I couldn't. I can't. I'm fine, Doc. Just want an excuse to play with the radio, I guess. He looks at me and I can tell he can see right through my bullshit. He sighs and continues on. I guess he wasn't in the mood to have another argument over this topic.
Well, besides trying to get you back to your quarters, as you've not been keeping a healthy sleep schedule, and I can see the exhaustion in your eyes, so don't argue with me about it again. I did come up here with another purpose in mind.
He gestured to a briefcase that I was almost sure that hadn't been there a few seconds ago.
In the interest of taking care of your mental and physical health, I felt it appropriate to find a gift to celebrate the anniversary of your day of birth.
Thanks, Doc. I don't really need a briefcase, though, I said, trying my best not to anger the Blake doctor. It looked like a nice case, and it seemed easy to carry, but I wasn't sure what the SCP was going for here. I never used a briefcase in my life. Given that I was still partially convinced this thing still wanted to kill me and turn me into one of his science experiments, I didn't want to offend him, though... Wait, to celebrate my what?
To celebrate your day of birth. Many of your colleagues in the past would often greet each other with good wishes for this event. And it is my understanding that the person in question would also receive gifts for the occasion. The machine in control of the facility mentioned to me in my lab that your profile listed today as the 25th anniversary of when you were born. So, I felt it appropriate to find something I believe you would make great use of. Speaking of, this is not just a briefcase, my good sir.
He handed me the case in question, allowing me to look it over. I could feel something's inside of it, but whatever it was, it didn't feel all that heavy.
Go ahead. Open it.
The doc seemed almost giddy. From what I remember from his interactions with the eggheads, he always seemed excited when they brought him something he had never seen before, or asked him to do something he had little experience with. Like it was a challenge or something. I guess he had never celebrated a birthday before. Oh, wait. My birthday. Huh. I guess that would be today, wouldn't it? I didn't have a way to keep track of the date beyond asking 079, but I hadn't really thought about it since the XK event. I didn't know what to say since this was so out of the blue. So I just did what the doc was waiting for and opened the case. Inside was... Oh, that is a lot of files. Wait, are these? Doc, how many SCP files did you shove in here? I asked as I riffled through the contents of the case.
All of them.
All of them? How the hell did you fit every fucking document about every SCP into this thing? This had to be a joke, right? The briefcase was standard size and even probably more on the smaller side. Yet, as I went through the case, the files didn't even feel like they were cramped together at all. If anything, it felt like I could go through what was apparently the entire damn archive of this little case and have room to spare.
Even I don't fully understand the workings of SCP-914, fascinating as that machine is, and yet, through it, I've created a container that functions similar to my own.
He gestured to his own case that seemed to have every piece of medical equipment you can think of, all contained in that tiny black bag.
I figured rather than making all those back and forth trips to the archive, or hunched over a machine viewing the digital copies, this would allow you to take your library with you wherever you go.
I was in shock at the magnitude of this gift. Doc, this is fucking awesome. So I could just put anything in here? I was starting to get giddy with the possibilities.
I'm afraid I cannot completely replicate the effects of my own container. Small objects, I suppose, such as that device you used that somehow tracks us in the facility could fit in here. But if you're thinking of putting something like that radio inside, then I'm afraid all you would accomplish is damaging the contents of the case.
I was surprised he knew about the SNAV. It had been a handy little device that made keeping track of the creatures trapped in here with me a lot easier. SCP-173 had already sneaked up on me a few times that I honestly don't think I would have noticed without the SNAV. I hate that fucking statue. I knew 079 was full of shit with that whole "I'll kill them if they attempt to get you" crap. He says 173 isn't actually trying to kill me, is taking enjoyment in scaring the crap out of me, but I'm not buying it. The plague doctor then reached for me, causing me to tense up. He grabbed me by the arm and helped me out of my chair. Before all this started, I was always under the impression he killed everything he touched. Still, according to his file, he has shaken hands with some of the researchers he's interacted with, and they hadn't keeled over. So it turns out his entire body count is people he actively set out to kill. That didn't make me feel any better if it wasn't clear. I was not at all comfortable that my life could end in less than a second so long as he touched me. Still, he did give me a kick-ass birthday present. Who kills someone after giving them a present, right? And so the doctor helped me carry SCP-185 back down the stairs and led me back to my makeshift room I had set up in the main security room. It had some cots from the D-class cells, it had the Tesla gates guarding it against all directions, short of a shelter for the event of an Alpha and Omega warhead detonations. This was most likely the safest room in the whole facility. The doc set SCP-185 down the table next to the monitors and turned back to me.
Try to get some sleep. You need rest. You start experiencing adverse effects from your foolish decisions.
I understood the hidden double meaning behind his words. Stop wasting time and energy on what admittedly would only get me melted. I laid back in my cot and closed my eyes. The gentle hum of the camera systems in the background. With any luck, I won't have any nightmares tonight. You know, I wonder if I could put the radio into 914 to make it easier to carry around. The doc poked his head back in before I could even get out the cot.
Go to bed.
Maybe an experiment for tomorrow.
I never had in my entire life felt so fucking pissed. It had been a month. A goddamn month. And the book still wasn't fucking working. I was gonna kill that prince bastard. My clients were used to my shit customer service skills, but even this was starting to push her for them. Oh sure, some of the dumbasses just straight up believed me when I told them we had already killed their mark and let us be. The others, however, had targets that, by all accounts, should have ended up in hell after they died. So either redemption wasn't a crock of shit, or IMP had just taken their money for nothing. Guess which one they found more likely. That wasn't the real issue though. Honestly, I couldn't give a fuck about my clients. It was the money I wanted. And if word got out that IMP was nothing but a fraud setting a scam, then the money would stop coming in. We were already in a touchy spot, money-wise. I always made sure to put a good chunk of earnings aside for me and my loony. And despite the constant pain in the ass Moxie was, I did start trying to set more aside so I can actually pay my employees too. It wouldn't do for Eminem to become homeless after all. Learning how to break into a different home would be such a pain in the ass. Did I mention Moxie was a pain in the ass? He was a pain in the ass. All the time.
I'm right fucking here, sir.
Oops, said that out loud. They were all gathered in the meeting room, and I was set for one of my meetups with Stolas the following night, and I'd be damned if I choked on like dick again before getting this book work, or Stolas could kiss my red ass goodbye. Maybe. Well, maybe one more time. But after that, I was putting my foot down.
I raised my head from the table. We'd been at this for hours, and I was tired. We decided we were going over every page in the stupid book, trying to get something that resembled a portal working with no dice. Stolas assured us it was simply because we were picking a dangerous spot to land in. But by that logic, the book was saying the entire human world was too dangerous to even venture into. Blitz, I know this might be a bad time, but me and Mox have rent coming up, and we still haven't been paid.
I slammed the book in frustration, opening it to a random page. Well, when we get some fucking money, maybe that'll change. But until we actually do our damn jobs, no one is getting anything!
I snorted behind my phone, not having even glanced at the grimoire this whole time. Except you. You're still dicking down the owl while this thing is on the fritz.
It was one time! I don't want to piss off the guy who can fix this stupid book!
Blitz snapped back while I ignored him. Besides scrolling through Voxtagram, I kept checking my messages, but I was still being left on red. Vortex had promised he'd take me along to go to one of his parties when he got back from whatever gig Verosica dragged him out to. But that had been weeks ago. He wasn't ignoring me, was he? He had promised to give me some friends? Nah, probably just ditching me for this supposed girlfriend of his. Lucky bitch. As I looked at my messages while my dad went back and forth with the dickless idiot and his wife, I couldn't help but notice that Tex's last message was about the same time the book had stopped working. That was just a coincidence, though. Right?
Enough! I yelled as I slammed the open page of the book. Sir, I have about had it with this shit. You're always flaunting your stupid purchases in front of us like that stupid horse thing, but now my wife is asking for our goddamn money so we can actually sleep in our fucking home.
I was actually impressed that Moxie had some balls on him. But what got my attention was the sudden smell that filled the room. I wrinkled my nose, trying to find where it was coming from, before quickly noticing something happening with the book. It was glowing. Moxie.
And you! I yelled, turning my rage onto her. Millie and I are about to be kicked out of our home, and you have done fucking nothing all goddamn day! Why are you even here? I work for my money. What the fuck do you even do around here besides answer maybe half the calls that come in?
I cut in, now also noticing the book in question was glowing. A glow that was slowly getting brighter. Moxie, I think you need to move.
Move? Are you fucking kidding me? How the fuck are we supposed to afford a different place when we can't even pay the rent on this one?
I finally grabbed my husband and yanked him back to his seat. A fresh wave of grievances was about to explode out of his mouth before he, at last, saw what everyone else was worried about. A symbol that had been right where Moxie had slammed his fist was now brightly glowing purple, growing bigger as it started to light up the symbols next to it.
Moxie, what the fuck did you just do? I asked my employee. For once, Moxie didn't have an answer. None of us had ever seen this before. Granted, we really only used the book to get to the human world and back, so Stolas might be more familiar with whatever the fuck was happening, but we had been using the book for a while, so it was safe to say that if the book was not doing what we intended to use it for, then something bad was most likely about to happen.
I got out of my seat and stood over my dad's shoulder, trying to get a better look at the symbol. I had flipped through the book a few times whenever I got bored, but I didn't recognize the symbol in question here. It looked like some kind of weird spiral. That was all I could think about before a purple tendril shot out from the book and pulled me into the large glowing spiral. I only had time to yelp in surprise before disappearing in a flash of purple light.
Luna! I yelled, reaching into the purple light in a vain attempt to grab onto my daughter, only to find myself being pulled in as well.
Me and my wife were looking at each other questioningly. We really should go talk to Stolas before doing anything stupid, I tried to convince my wife.
I nodded. Yeah, probably. I agreed before immediately jumping into the purple light, following our boss and hellhound.
I sighed and followed my wife into the mess I may or may not have created. Man, if I just got them all killed, Blitz's ghost would never let me hear the end of it.
You know, I had asked for a night of no nightmares, and maybe I should have just said no dreams at all. As I felt myself drifting into unconsciousness, I was interrupted by voices sounding a little too close for comfort. Opening my eyes revealed what was once an empty room now occupied by 3 red demon-looking things dressed in suits and one tall punk wolf? They all had their backs to me as they looked over something on the desk at the far end of the room. I am going back to sleep now.
Where the hell are we?
My room. Get the fuck out. Doc says I need sleep and you sleep or else his demons aren't helping.
Hey sir, look at this. The symbols in this journal. Aren't these the same symbols in the grimoire?
Yes, Ben made a very confusing journal. Glad we all agree. Now shut the fuck up and get out.
Is that guy okay?
That must be the wolf. She sounded the closest, and her ass was practically in my face when I opened my eyes. And it's a nice ass. Thank you for that. But leave me alone now.
Leave him be. The guy looks dead already. Now, I think this book may be the cause of all our issues. Some black magic voodoo shit some human tried fucking with.
Hey, fuck you, asshole. Dead tired is what I am. Just take what you want and get out. I'll deal with it in the morning.
Let's just destroy it and get out of here. I'm getting sick of these humans fucking our whole gig up.
Yes, get out of here, finally. Leave me alone, you red asshole. You fucking what? My eyes shot open just in time to see the tall red demon holding a lighter under Ben's journal. The only link I had to whatever he put in my head was about to go up in flames. Not happening. 1 second I was lying in my cot looking on in terror as these demons were about to destroy one of the few possessions I still had in life. And in a blink of an eye, I was across the room with my fist going right into the tall demon's noggin. I grabbed the journal out of the air and shoved it in my pocket before any of the other creatures could blink. I looked between seemingly a male demon and the wolf, who did not seem too pleased I just sucked their buddy into next week. Right now, the wolf seemed like the bigger threat of the two. They were both standing in the way from the door, so I need to duck right now. On that familiar impulse, I ducked with no warning, causing the female demon to soar over me. A dagger in her hand poised to slash right where my neck had been. She crashed right into the white-haired one, sending them both to the floor, leaving just me and the she-wolf. I stepped forward to block right, raising my arm to stop the clawed hand that went to slash across my chest. Quickly sweeping her leg, I flipped her over my back and onto the 2 demons still on the floor, pinning them. I held the journal in front of their downed forms. This is mine. I was beyond pissed right now. Maybe it was the fatigue or the daily fear and anxiety that came from being yelled at by the damned souls outside. But at that moment, I felt like I was about to explode. Something's wrong. I stepped outside, trying to get my head straight. This was weird. I'd been angry before, obviously, but this was something new. This was pure, unbridled rage. The only reason those fuckers aren't dead from that rage right now is the fact that I'm honestly terrified what was happening to me right now. This wasn't normal. This was shit. Something clubbed me in the back, knocking me to the ground. The strange creatures all jumped around me, running down the hall. Oh, no you don't. I grabbed the tail of the red female demon as she jumped over me, slamming her to the ground, stunning her. The white-haired one turned around at the noise, and his eyes widened at what he saw.
Millie!
He shouted, running back to us before... The Tesla gate flashed alive just before him, causing him to stop short. If he had just been a step further, he'd be nothing but ash right now. Lucky him. Now, where were those fucking things 5 seconds ago?
Moxie, go! I'll be fine.
The demon in my grip yelled before the wolf grabbed him and lifted him up, screaming for this Millie. They ran off down the halls with what were apparently Moxie's screams echoing off the walls. I turned back to the demon still in my grip, struggling with all her might to get free. I was still feeling that rage in my mind. This bitch had tried to steal what was mine. Tried to slash my fucking throat. I should turn her head into a fucking paste, throw her into the Tesla gate and watch her burn. I noticed a ring on her finger.
Please. I was just so scared. I just wanted to see my wife again.
As quickly as it came, the rage seeped out of me, leaving me with nothing but exhaustion and adrenaline. I held her there as she continued to growl and struggle against me. She had tried to kill me. So why am I even considering this? I took her knife and threw it away from the both of us, leaving her unarmed. I'm letting go of you. You try anything and I throw you into the Tesla gate there and fry your brains out. Understood? I laid it out for her as she slowly stopped fighting against my grip, still giving me a death stare, but gradually she nodded. True to my word, I released my grip, and she scrambled to her feet, taking a defensive stance. She couldn't run anywhere with the Tesla gate blocking her escape, so we stared at each other for a few minutes before she broke the silence.
Who are you and what do you want?
I raised my hand slightly to show I wasn't armed. I should be asking you. You don't look like any SCP I'm familiar with, meaning you broke into this facility and tried to destroy my property. Why are you here? How did you get past the sun monster?
Broke in? You brought us here with that book of yours. And what did you just call me? What sun monsters?
It seemed whatever she expected from me, that wasn't it. Now I was throwing off her groove. Hang on, how could she not know what I mean by sun monster? Nothing was said as we both got our breath back. Finally, I lowered my hands. Something tells me something that the both of us are missing here. So, you promise me we call a truce here, and I promise we can all sit down and talk this out. I negotiated with the demon. She huffed.
Fine, but no funny business, you hear? I'll drop you faster than you can say ouch.
She walked over and picked up her knife before shoving it back in its holster. I nodded. Good, glad we're in agreement. Now let's go see where your friends ran off to. I walked back into the security room to look at the cameras to just see where the other creatures were in the facility. They couldn't have gone far. The country demon was behind me as I looked over the monitors and asked 079 to turn off the Tesla gates. Bingo, not far at all. I turned around to Millie. Got him, they're close. Let's catch up to them before they get themselves killed. I jogged out into the hallway in the direction of her compatriots, Millie hot on my heels.
Get themselves killed? What are you talking about? Wait up!
The man was ignoring his orders on purpose. There was no other explanation. I had dealt with unruly patients, but this man stood out amongst them. I sighed before walking down the hallway, following my patient and the red creature with him. This was going to be a long night, I could tell. A doctor's work is never done, I suppose.
A few turns here and there, and soon we caught up to where I had seen the creatures on the cameras. I turned back to Millie to ask if she would have any idea where they would go from here when I jumped over the demon that had just tried to take out my legs and landed to see the tall demon taking a defensive stance as behind him, the white-haired one Millie had called Moxie was fretting over her, checking her for any injuries.
Mox, the next time you want to turn on the magic book and throw us in the ass end of nowhere, at least let me grab my guns first.
The tall one growled behind him, causing Moxie to glare at his fellow demon. I raised my hands in the air again. Hang on now, we got off the wrong foot back there. I'm not trying to fight anyone here. I just want to know why you broke into my room and tried to destroy my book. I tried calming the demon approaching me with a clear intent to kill. Millie broke free from the demon, checking her for broken bones, and grabbed the tall demon from behind.
Hang on, Blitz. We all just want to talk. He said something about stopping you before you get yourself killed. So I think we need to hear what he has to say.
The tall one looked back at Millie before looking back at me with an anger in his eyes.
Fine. He gets 1 minute before I paint the walls red with him. Name's Blitz. The O is silent. Now, why are you fucking with my business?
Wait. What O? Clearly, my priorities are on point tonight. This Blitz with a silent O somewhere was not amused.
Don't waste my time, asshole. I can take a good punch any day of the week, but you fucked up when you attacked my daughter. So explain why you have a book that looks like a 4th grader tried to copy out of mine.
His daughter? I didn't attack her. She came at me with a knife, and all I did was duck. The only one I really did anything to was him and— Wait, the wolf is your daughter? How does that work? Man, my priorities are killing it.
Looney is not a damn wolf. She is a hellhound, and you will apologize to her before I lose my cool and get really creative with your zombie-looking ass.
He gestured behind him where no one was standing. He turned around and blinked in surprise to see the wolf, hellhound, was missing from this little party.
Looney? Looney! Where did you go?
Moxie yelped as something touched him and spun around. Nothing was in front of him until he looked down and saw—
Is this a teddy bear?
He asked, drawing our attention to SCP-1048, currently holding a piece of paper in its hands. It waved the paper at us as I walked up to it and took the paper in my hands. I examined the drawing the bear had made. Oh shit! Without a word to the other demons, I sprinted down the hallway, racing to get to the hellhound before she got herself killed.
This fucking prick just ditched us. I growled as my anger spiked back up. Oh, I am gonna feed this asshole to my eels for weeks. I bent over to pick up the paper the human had dropped to see what had caused him to run off in such a hurry. The paper had a crude drawing, on which was a hellhound standing over some kind of piece of writing as she was crying? Wait, is that supposed to be blood? Moxie and Millie gasped as they looked over my shoulder at the drawing. Without hesitation, we all shot off after the human, screaming at him for answers. Is my Looney in trouble? If anything happened to my daughter, there would be nowhere on hell or earth my rage wouldn't burn. I glanced back to look at the damn bear that had just delivered a death threat of my daughter, slitting her own wrists open, but the bear was gone.
I have to finish it. I couldn't explain why. It didn't matter. The pain didn't matter. My blood is nothing. Nothing but ink to finish this masterpiece. I ripped open another gash on my wrist to get more material to finish it. I must finish it. I heard a voice behind me. Irrelevant. Nothing else mattered. I was getting lightheaded. I had to. It had to be. I couldn't. I can't help but laugh. It made no sense. It's impossible. I fell back into a pair of arms, laughing as the darkness set in. I looked into eyes staring at me with nothing but fear. I grinned at the human. It can't be completed. I choked out.
ink pooling around me. Laughing. Until darkness overtook me. And then there was nothing.